You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
Hello, Shoe and Show listeners. Do not adjust your sets. Do not hit refresh on your podcast browser because this is Matt Priest sitting in for Andy. He's usually at the helm and he's usually driving our conversations at the outset, but he has stepped away for another a meeting. And so he's asked me to take the helm. This might be the only time I get access to have the ability to run this program. And so while I'm at it, I'm going to take advantage of it. And I'm going to bring in one of our biggest, most iconic brands on the planet and talk to one of their employees about what makes them so iconic, working at the program or working at the brand itself, and seeing what kind of answers she can provide us into what is Adidas, or if you're outside of North America, Adidas. It's an iconic brand, Jasmine. Jasmine, you're my co-host. You're my co-pilot. It's good to have you on the program as well as always. And you're going to do double duty because you're going to help me co-host while at the same time, you're going to do one of your segments, your fashion, footwear, and focus segment. So you're going to have to balance and juggle and walk and chew gum all at the same time. So with that, Jasmine, who do we have on today's program?
Today we have Erica Dixon. I'm newly meeting Erica, so this will be a fun episode. She is assistant manager of campaign operations at Adidas, based in Portland. So I would love, usually when we have new guests on, Erica, we like to get their shoe story. I see that you haven't been at Adidas too long, so how did you end up in the footwear industry altogether?
That's a really good question. I think as a newbie, like a rookie, I feel like I'm still very excited and trying to do my best during my first year. But I guess my origin story, I feel like, as superheroes. My origin story, I'm actually from Mississippi. I'm actually relocating to Portland officially this week. So I've been packing all my belongings, everything. Kind of sad, putting all stuff in a little box. But my origin story about connections, I guess, to the sportswear and just sneaker industry in general. Being from Jackson, Mississippi, there's not always a lot of creative resources. In high school, I really spent a lot of my time just really trying to come up with different fashion looks, helping the sports team at my school with broadcasting, my community, anything I can get my hands on. And I really saw that I had an eye for not only fashion, but also sports marketing. Being able to get some kids D1 offers just off their highlight tapes alone really brought me joy. And I was like, whoa, how can I bridge the gap of fashion and sports together? And I was like, you know what? Adidas, Nike, all these big sportswear brands. But Adidas always stood out to me. So I was like, okay, you got to do this. I always saw that people within the industry had tons of experience. So throughout my college duration, I made sure that I did a bunch of internships. Whether it was for free or paid, I made sure that I grinded so that one day I could actually be an employee. Probably in 2019, I applied for the internship at Adidas. It had Tell Your Creator Story. That was a one-page cover letter. So I really just put all my emotions, all my drive, all my grit on a paper. I wrote about how I've been through a lot of adversity. I actually was homeless in high school. I was a sixth to a single mother. And during that time, me being able to produce graphics and marketing helped my family get income and also helped me pay myself through college. So I really put my heart on the line and just told them about my story and how I just really want to make a difference, not only for women and people who look like me, but also just in general for people just be able to, I guess, tell about themselves, their identity, and really push for good vibes in the industry and make a change, whether it be sustainability, diversity, inclusion, and more. So I put that on the cover letter. I didn't think they cared about me. I didn't think they were going to look at it. I just, not from the essence of they don't care about me, but it's a big company. Why would they want to get a kid from Mississippi? And then maybe 3 months later, I get an email that had Adidas and the recruiter, and I didn't even read it. It didn't say rejection or acceptance. I just bust out crying, and I didn't even know why. I just bust out crying. And then fast forward to then, I got the internship. Life-changing experience. I actually spoke to the intern class that's upcoming this year yesterday, and it felt like a full circle moment to pay it forward. So yeah, that's kind of how what brought me into my role, really doing an internship, but also keeping connections and really staying present and working on myself so I can be able to land a position and just staying in the know.
That Erica, that is awesome. My gosh, that's like so much of a cooler origin story than Batman or Iron Man or Superman's origin story, because you show vulnerability, right? And we live in a society where everyone's like, "I got this," no matter what, I can handle it. And you laid it out there that, you know what, I've been through adversity, and because of that adversity, I can handle it, but it's not because I got everything's under control in my life, because I've had challenges, and which we all face. But talk to me about, my gosh, that full circle from being homeless and a single mom to now landing at one of the biggest sports industries brands in the world. Kind of, you got to pinch yourself every single day. Like, how do you kind of navigate and not continue to have a smile on your face?
I was like, yeah, I don't know. You see me this whole time. I just like been smiling through the interview, and that's kind of how like whenever I'm like even working remotely right now, and I even had a moment. I think like last week, I was like, will I ever just feel like, is this real? And I feel like even me, like I want to get to senior leadership like one day, and I was like, I feel like I'm always gonna have this feeling, like it's always gonna be surreal that like I made it. I think just about me alone, like putting myself to college, being like financially stable like myself and very independent and really aiming for a goal. And it's like you believe in yourself, but like when things keep happening, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening. You're like, dude, what are you talking about? You believe in yourself. But like every day I'm like, I actually like did it in a sense. And I think of adversity, I think really just keeping like your perspective and like mindset. I think about a lot of things I've been through. It kind of helped me mold me to a person I am today. I think I'm able to carry myself like well and handle like conflict. Life isn't always like rainbows and sunshines, but I think when you just take
True.
a hold on it and be like, hey, things are going to happen, but it's more about how I'm going to bounce back in a sense. Like even like the strongest players have to have like a rest day, lose gains, but it's more about having more good days and bad days. So I really try to like focus on like, okay, how can I improve? What can I learn from this lesson? I know like after I'm graduating, the pandemic happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to return, get a job and everything. And it was like, no, the whole world is going crazy right now. Other things are more important. Other people are losing their actual like jobs, places, and a variety of things. So that time I was like, you know what? I need to just sit back and really develop on what I really want. So when I'm aiming for these goals, that like it's the right goal I want, but also work on myself. And during that time, I knew I wanted to work at Adidas. Like I knew it before, but like, applying for other companies, I got to the point where I didn't even want to apply anywhere else. Like that's how the culture and everything is so infectious and just so impactful. So I really set my journey to get back to the brand. I did like freelance projects, conceptual marketing, really just showing them like, hey, I do this in my spare time. I can do it for you. I feel like you can really prove like your worth. So that's kind of like my little spiel.
Erica, I'm curious to know what kind of content do you enjoy creating? As marketing has changed over the years, the certain kind of content that used to work doesn't work as much now. So we've had to kind of change and pivot. So what do you enjoy creating? What did you start off creating and now you have more of a focus on now?
Okay. I feel like when everyone like looks at like something they first did versus now, it's like a glow up basically, like an upgrade. Like I know whenever I see like I've done graphics since I was 13, and like what I looked at like back then I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so amazing." I would never let that see the day of light like today in a sense. But as I grow older, I see really, I guess, the effect of something being so powerful. So with the world being digital, I love digital content, whether it be like an ad, moving, a video, anything of that nature. But also, I love storytelling. I think more than now, brands and just the world is really more open to like relating to the consumer and being people, because like we're humans, like we're shopping for a shoe, but maybe you want to know more about the designer or the product team or the product marketers or just anyone behind that product. So I think right now regarding content, my favorite thing is something that's very digital focused but also storytelling and compelling to the consumer.
How do we seem to be such fragmented people, right? And it's one thing to be a marketer in 1977, the year I was born. There's only so many channels for which you could connect with people. There are three broadcast channels and a handful of magazines, Sports Illustrated, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's like the fragmentation is like off the charts, and we all have attention deficit disorder because we are bombarded constantly with media. So how do you strategize as someone who is clearly of an age that's grown up in this environment more than maybe someone like myself? How do you strategize around connecting with people when our media consumption is so fragmented and it is an attention economy and it's hard to capture people's attention when they're so distracted? How do you kind of figure that out?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think one for me as a consumer, I try to like always be like, would I even like this? Like when we're going to take a strategy kind of, not to make it about myself, but like, hey, do I even like it myself? Because you don't want to do something you feel like I can't even connect with it. Like if it can't connect with the creator, then it's like, why are you even like making this like in a sense? But I think what really stands out is like research. It gets a little tech and like IT heavy, but knowing like what works for someone and what doesn't, I think about like demographic research and a variety of things to really know that consumer because like it's really hard to paint a picture. So maybe do a target consumer like profile so you know what they like. Like you don't want to get someone like a target ad or content and you know like this is not going to appeal to them at all. But also being very, I guess, intentional, but not like cliche or like I guess like performatism kind of in a sense. So like don't react to like something in the world that's going on just to say you did it kind of. So really like show rapport that you're actually interested in bettering the people around you. So I think with content and the consumer, just making sure that like you know your consumer and doing the work for that. So they can be pulling research and data, doing focus groups, or even like having the consumer like all come in and like rate your content and things of that nature. So I think really it comes to the point of putting people a part of the process, whether that be the consumer or people that actually work behind the brand creating it. So I think having that checkpoint to making sure you're consumer obsessed, and that's one thing that Adidas really pushes for, consumer obsessed, to make sure that we're actually appealing to our consumer. And then I guess the last thing is just really making sure that I guess you're genuine. You're really genuine. I think really caring about anything that you put out into the world, it has an effect. So really just like make sure you have checks and balances and review everything to make sure that it really is intentional.
Awesome. I also am curious, do you have a story you could share behind like maybe one of your favorite projects that you've worked on thus far? That's like one of my favorite questions to ask creatives because like we see the front end, but the backstory is always very
Yes,
interesting.
I think my favorite project that has like a backstory that I actually mentioned yesterday to the group of interns was at Adidas is a variety of employee resource groups, and one of the resource groups is actually called Progressive Souls, and it's for people of color, but anyone of all backgrounds can join it. When I was an intern, I had a variety of projects, but I'm always like, what else can I do? Because it's like a kid being in a candy shop, like growing up where you don't have like a lot of resources. I'm like, okay, this is my time. Like I can make nothing out of something, but like, what can I do when I finally get the resources? So during my internship, I would say, you know what? Let's go crazy. Like you're like the athlete in like Q3 or Q4. Like let's go. Let's just win the game like a blowout. So one of the projects I took on was doing the promotional content for the event. I was just surprised. They were in the meeting and said, who wants to lead the content and marketing of this event? And like me being 21 at the time, I was like, what? I can like literally control the entire look and feel, aesthetic, and promotion of this event that's going to be pushed to literally everybody in the company, but also the public, because the public can be invited to the event. So I told them what kind of equipment I wanted. I told them all my ideas. And each time I showed them, they're like, yeah, let's do that. And I was just like taken back, like just getting approved. And the crazy part of it, one of my friends actually helped me. So it was really cool having another fellow intern to share their experience with. His name is actually Grant Butler. And I think the coolest thing about it, the content, I don't want to say last minute, 'cause I feel like that sounds like negative, but we had to get like a lot of legal approval. So that tells you like once you get more in corporate role, you have to get a lot of checks and balances, like I remembered. So the event was actually on a Thursday, I believe, and we actually released all the promotional event stuff on a Monday, like from the sign up page to everything. So at that point, you're like, how can you expect people to come to your event? Like, what? But the event actually was the most successful like ERG event at Adidas. We had a total of 900 RGPs in 3 days. People like to sign up for the event. We had over 500,000 views on all the content I created with collaboration with my friend, and it was just awesome. And I was so happy to actually record the event to capture the essence. And now with quarantine and like COVID-19, looking back, like that was the last like big hoorah of everyone close together. It low-key looks kind of illegal, like people not being like 6 feet away from each other. So I think that's kind of like a story of something I was very proud of. Like I think I had like a sense of people trusted me just like in my ability to do things without even seeing me do anything, but also being able to have a culture impact and help the brand And I just think that meant a lot to me. Even though it was kind of like last minute, it still was very impactful.
Yeah, I love that. It made me think of something else. Like, what are your thoughts surrounding diversity in the footwear industry? That's something that FDRA touches on a lot through our African American Footwear Forum, something that I hope you can join since you're new to the industry. We definitely want you plugged in there. But yeah, just what are your thoughts? The statements that have come out, in the past years, the commitments that have been made. How do you feel as being a person of color in the industry
Okay.
personally?
Yeah, actually seeing like this organization, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to join this. Like it's been on my radar. And I was like, wait, do I wait to like actually get in the industry? Can I do it like as an intern or like standby? But I think what you all are doing is like amazing. Regarding your question about like my attitude towards diversity, I think diversity is not just like a company, like a business thing. It's really just a world problem. Like it really is. It's like deeper than just like a couple years. Like a lot of like systematic racism runs years deep. Like it's hard to just overnight fix like a system when it's just embedded in all of our lives for so long. But I do think that change is like coming. I'm a very optimistic person, and I think slowly and surely that a lot of brands or even policies in the world are making like strides to improve that diversity. I think about even like me being able to be like in my role. I think like a lot of things have happened to give people the opportunity to not only tell their story, but also just simply like representation. And I think even like the chance for me to be able to speak right now about it, I think it shows that like society is progressing forward to be able to have these conversations. You know, sometimes it can be a little bit awkward, like people that don't really look the same, but being able to have a platform to speak about it and be vulnerable about it, and also other people like to learn. So I think regarding diversity, I think it's like change is coming. It may be like slow and steady, but I think the end result is like it's on its way. I know last year as a recent graduate, seeing all the recent George Floyd activity and more, it really took an emotional toll on me. And like I was the type of person, I was very scared to protest due to like COVID-19. So I was like, what else can I help? Actually created digital content and to honor the lost lives of police brutality. But also I did a bunch of flyers for like donations, different campaigns. It could be like Instagram flyers regarding like just awareness about things. So I think really my thing about diversity is kind of like everyone plays a role. I feel like a person of color, sometimes I don't really like to educate sometimes. I think that can become kind of a burden, but I think it's like a team effort in a sense for everyone to really try their part. Even though like something may not affect someone as much, I think it's kind of everyone's like civic duty to try to help make the world a better place. Kind of cheesy, but it's so needed. It's so
Yeah, it's not cheesy at all. You could run for Congress. I'd vote for you in an instant. Erica, I think your approach to it with humility is really, really important because you're right. One of the things that as a white guy, one of the things I didn't really fully appreciate was that not every person of color wants to fill that role of taking up the mantle on the diversity side. They have a passion to see in diversity, but they might want to be the best marketer they can be, or the best legal general counsel they can be, or the best footwear designer, and they support all these initiatives for sure. But at the end of the day, they also want to succeed in these other areas. And so having a safe space that where on the corporate level, the companies are taking responsibility, and many of them are these days, are taking responsibility to develop a more welcoming environment for creativity and for connectivity. I think is really important so that the Ericas of the world can go and be the best damn marketers they can be, digital marketers they can be, and the culture around them will improve because the company themselves is creating that environment. And it's not incumbent upon all the people of color at the brands to create the environment. That's not their job. It's the company as a whole. And so my hope is that we'll continue to see work in this area. We got a long way to go. But I'm optimistic as you are, and my hope is that over time we'll see the changes that need to happen. And I can't think of a better. Athletics have always been a great equalizer. Growing up playing baseball and basketball out and living in Washington D.C., I always knew a lot of people of color, and I had a very diverse outlook, and I always wanted to surround myself with diverse folks from different backgrounds and countries and nationalities. And athletics often create this camaraderie, no matter what your skin color is or what your social economic background is. You come together, you have a goal of being the best team you can be. And so to have that tie-in with Adidas and the brand that serves that athlete, a multitude of athletes, the Adidas athlete is red and yellow, black and white, right? And so there's so many different athletes that are represented by the global brand. I think it's such a great place to be for a young marketer like yourself and designer and developer. So walk us through kind of your expectations as you pivot to campus and the culture and the gigantic Stan Smith outside there on Greeley Avenue. How going from Mississippi to Portland is a culture shock. But what are your expectations as you make that transition?
I was like, yes, it is a culture shock. I've traveled like a lot, but staying somewhere like it's a difference from like I've like traveled everywhere, so it's a difference from spending time in New York for a week versus spending time in Portland. Like this is a commitment. This is a really good commitment. As an intern, I stayed in Portland and I loved it. At first, it took some adjusting. Sometimes, like you have allergies, it's gonna get you.
Yeah.
Usually, the weather is really good, like during the summer, and I love that. Like being in the South, it is like 95 degrees in the summer. Like you couldn't tell me anything when I was there. I was smiling the whole summer because I did not have to like walk out my house and like 3 minutes later go back home and take a shower. That's how
Right.
it gets. Like it gets hot. But I
Right.
think my expectations, I guess, when I was there, it was a sense of community. But I think really, I always tell people like hold everyone accountable, like talk the talk, walk the walk. I think with remote work, a lot of people have a sense of like work life balance and really finding, I guess, the meaning of like kind of like building your life out. I feel like me being home, I have a sense of community like right here. You know what I'm saying? And I've been like very productive. So I hope that I'm able to keep that same like productive level due to Portland not really having the demographic background of people color in a sense. So I hope when I get there and like as the brand like transitions that I'm able to still have that sense of community. Whether it be from people who just look like me or just like support in general, because the brand can't change the demographic of an entire city. Like this has happened. Like so hopefully like pulling like talent from different areas. And I think the brand is actually making great strides and making sure that people are more included in the process, not just like a handout, but really knowing that like talent does exist. I feel like some companies they always like, oh my gosh, I can't find talent. I'm like, what are you talking about? Talent does exist. So I think the brand does like scoop high and low to try to find like where are the people and like they are talented because they do exist. And I really enjoy that they do that, and I feel like that's how they found me. It's like finding a kid in Mississippi. I feel like it's very hard, especially. But I think also as a I guess person like finding these jobs, I actually had to like help them. Like, what is my personal brand? Like, help people, help myself, so other people can help me. And I think once I did that, so many people were willing. They're like, "What do you like? What do you want to do?" So I think my overall goal is just to really hone in on that sense of community, but also like build it even more. Like Adidas, if you talk to any employee that works there, like the energy and everything is like amazing. Like at some point when I left like the company, like after my internship, I told my family, I was like, yo, I want to stop. Like it's like the fact that like they have such a hook on me. I was like, I don't know why, but I was like, I have to get back. I was like, it is really crazy. And I was like, if I could, I wouldn't be that crazy. Like it consumed so much of my life, but it did that due to the people. Like you can talk to anyone. It is the people that make the brand. And I
Yeah.
think about just how the brand is like right now, this is only the beginning. I really truly feel it. And I feel like once the brand takes off even more and create a bigger impact, that community is going to be large. I know we've had some new additions to our campus, like new buildings. So I always view more space, more people, and more good smiles.
That's awesome. Gosh, you're super infectious. And I love how you again you're vulnerable to a sense that shows your humanity, and so many people put on these masks to really kind of
Like we
get
have
ahead.
enough masks right now.
What's that?
I would say we have enough masks right now.
Exactly. We have enough masks. We can take those off for sure. So one of the things I want to do is now bring in Jasmine and have her put on a different hat, not a mask, but a different hat for her world famous fashion, footwear, and focus segment. Jasmine, I'm going to make myself vulnerable. What you're about to unleash on us is probably something I've never heard of, but I'll do my best to pontificate as I see fit. But I'll be actually more interested in what Erica has to say. So what you got for us in your fashion, footwear, and focus segment?
Yeah, actually, after talking to Erica, I felt like it would be a missed opportunity if I didn't get inside of her closet. I read an article that simply said, "We're ready for fun shoes." And it was funny because we've all had this conversation within the office about us, not necessarily wearing our slippers anymore and trading those out for some good fashionable shoes. So I thought the article was right on point. So I'm curious, as a creative, what do you wear? Do you wear a crazy shoe, a crazy colorways? What do you personally like to wear?
I feel like a lot of people are stuck on hype, like in consumer, just like my generation. But I'm the type of person, like if I like it, I'm gonna wear it. Like that's just how I am. And also I think like multi-purpose. Like you don't want to get just one shoe and you can only wear it with one outfit. But I still have shoes like that. When you get those crazy color schemes, it's like you can only wear those of a certain color. So I think with my shoes in my closet, I think about like I want to express myself. I think growing up, it was always hard because if you don't have a lot of money, you can't really find certain pieces. But as I got older, I was like, you can find anything and make it like work. And I think one thing about shoes itself can tell a story. Like you can have the most basic outfit, but that shoe itself can tell a story. And more than likely, the people who created it probably intended it to have a story, but I think you can rock it like different like ways. I think right now, like I love Yeezys. Yeezys I can pair with the most like basic like fit, but also I have one that I just ordered is the Yeezy 700 bright blue. Usually I never wear like bright colors, but I love this shoe. I'm actually staring at it like right now in my closet. And right now, with even me like packing all my belongings, moving to Portland, I have a suitcase really dedicated to my favorite shoes. So
Mm,
I think finding a shoe is like finding like an everyday shoe, finding a shoe for every single purpose, and just going with it.
yeah, I love that.
I love that
Gosh,
answer. Yeah.
Yeezys, the 700s, the bright blue. I've seen those, and they are super vibrant and definitely will catch attention as you make your way walking around the streets of Portland. So for me, as I think about the Adidas story, let me ask you this, Erica: which of the classics are your favorite? Or is it the superstars? Is it the Stan Smith? And now I would argue that the NMDs are moving into classic territory. So, which of those three are your go-tos, or maybe all three of them are? I just don't know.
I was like, all three of them, all three of them. I was like, my employer, I always say my employer pays me like bi-weekly, but I give them the money back every time. That's what I tell myself all the time. I was like, OMG, I was like, is this a setup? But it just happens. I love the product. Like I can't help it. But out of all three, I would literally say the superstars. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I order like a new pair probably every 3 months because that you can get them clean, but that fresh pair of new shoes,
Mm.
you can never have too many shoes. Like you really can't. But
This is
on the
true.
superstar, I think I loved it because being a kid, like when you get your first different pairs of shoes, and usually your parents they try to get a shoe that you can wear with everything. Like my mom, she wasn't gonna buy me like a hot pink or like lime green like pair of shoes because like you can't wear that with everything. But like a silhouette, like the superstar is just like a statement piece
Yep.
really can put on with everything, and they're so comfy. Like I know during the internship, I literally probably wore my superstars every day of the internship, and I probably switched out with other shoes maybe like at least 5 times. But I had my superstars because they're so comfy, and I think it really symbolizes like the brand as well. And I think about like when you go to campus, you have the giant superstars like right there.
That's what it is. Yeah, I said giant Stan Smith, but I started to second guess. It is a giant superstar. You're right.
So yeah, I just think it just like when you put them on, it just embodies like the brand. And I think about like brand campaigns in the past. They really talk about like superstars and the journey that people have. Like a lot of people, we wear them down, so we need like a new one. But I think they're really like it's just a good shoe. Like that's all I have to say.
Awesome, Erica. Erica, you've been great. I think you're going to fit into the footwear industry perfectly fine. You're passionate. You have a great sense of humor. You're a shoe consumer yourself. You love all the good shoes, so I think you will fit right in.
Yeah, you're a gem. What I would love to do, Erica, is bring you back in 5 or 10 years. I don't know if we'll still be doing Shoe and Show. That'll be like 1,000 episodes at that point. But I'd love to bring you back and then play a couple of the clips from this interview and see how you talked about when you're creative, you have those things you did. And then as you look back on them, and we all do, I remember looking back at old papers I wrote in college, like, and because I do a lot of writing now, yeah, but wasn't, I've improved since then. So I'd love to bring it back and just play some of these clips and see how your life experience and your optimism and your humility has carried you to a successful career. Cause I think you're going to go super far for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love that. I actually thought about like things like I've read in the past, and sometimes it seems like a time capsule, especially when you talk about like goals you want to achieve. And looking back, it's like, oh, I said that. Or sometimes like, why did I talk too much? I should have been quiet. It's like the answer didn't need to be that long, kind of. So yeah, I would love to see embarrassing takes of me in the past, but also see if I said anything that actually came like true. I think that's kind of like inspiring, and it can be like, I guess, show other people like, hey, things can really happen. I said it now, so hopefully in 5 or 10 years I'm where I want to be. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, Erica, we thank you so much for coming on Shoe and Show. Folks, this is Erica Dixon. She is going to be a star, a superstar, pardon the pun, in the industry for sure. Write her name down, look her up on LinkedIn, follow her because she's going to have an awesome career, and we're super excited for her. So Erica, thanks again for coming on Shoe and Show. We really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me. I know even when I was an intern, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like my life. I was like, I want people to reach out to me to tell my story and like more. So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. This is actually like, I feel like one of my top career goals, like really to talk to people and just create impact and just be a human.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, folks, we hope that you've been touched as much as Jasmine and I have been by Erica's story, from her adversity all the way to campus there in Portland at Adidas' headquarters here in North America. There's a ton of different episodes that we've recorded for Shoe and Show. I think we're about 280 at this point. All of them are still relevant. You can get this episode and all of our episodes, their entire catalog, at shoeandshow.com. You can also rate us. And as Jasmine understands, we only accept 5-star ratings. So if you put a 4 or 4.5, it automatically is kicked out. It's some algorithm. I don't understand it. But make sure you rate us. Share this with your friends. Make sure this gets sent around so that people who have an interest in being a part of the industry and learning more about the business side of what we do in our $90 billion industry just here in the U.S., please check us out. Please share us. Tell a friend. Until next time, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.